Politics. We're pushing this whole thing over to make it work just for you. I am Tom McKay, your individually wrapped, perspicuitous, and vitriolic host for 3D Politics. I've got David Van and David Oldham right here with me, the couple of the most important Davids in the Oklahoma area today. Now, we've got a lot of exciting stories here. I'm going to get that thing out of there because it's just driving me insane with that latent delay. You know, we've had an exciting week. What do you guys, before we get into the show, what about your week? Anything exciting? I was cat in the hat today. You guys just wait. I was cat in the hat today. It was probably one of the greatest days of my life at the elementary school, teaching the kids to love learning and reading and letters, sounds.
Yeah, and I just love after last week that you're embracing diversity. That's just a brilliant thing. If you missed last week's show,
and you did it without a dress.
Without a dress.
That's amazing.
Right. I still shave my legs, though.
Yeah. Well, compared to that, I got nothing after that.
Oh, come on.
No, how can we compare?
Because I
mean, we've only been at the Capitol working for everybody else.
Somebody's got to look out for the children.
The funnest thing I did today was listen to the floor debate in the Oklahoma House, and it was delightful, folks. You gotta see it. Pull it up on okhouse.gov.
Oh, really?
Oh, gosh.
Sick and twisted love you have.
Johnny Tadlock and the urban Democrats of Oklahoma City. He had to teach them a little bit about life outside of the Beltway. It was just awesome. Yeah. But anyway, that was my day.
So, good week for you, too? I mean, other than work, you know, anything, just all work for you?
Busy. We're, well, the 3 Ds went to the Capitol.
Okay.
Late last week after our show.
So we'll get into that. We're going to talk about the Capitol Chronicles.
Your
personal life, everything good? You dug a ditch?
Just
clean the house,
working,
wash the dishes,
just busy.
He doesn't want to tell us what her name is yet.
Oh yeah. If only that. No, constitutional grounds keeps me busy.
Yeah.
It's amazing of late dealing with some Canadian county conservatives who are neither conservative and certainly not.
Not Canadian?
Not
Canadian.
They're definitely not Canadians, that's for sure.
Well,
listen to what comes out of their mouth, and there's never an A. But they're definitely not constitutional. In fact, they're arguing against the Constitution, and it's been kind of a fun exercise to work through these problems that they want to defend and take it down to where they can't defend it anymore. So that's been fun, but.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into it then.
Yeah.
I always like to kind of touch base and get it kind of geared in before we roll into the show. But, you know, last week we talked about a lot of stuff, Pete Buttigieg and all that action about ancient history. And, you know, apparently, you know, he's gone. So, I mean, one impactful show from 3D Politics and pow, we
did it.
It was us.
Mostly Tom.
I think it was Tom.
Individually wrapped and perspicuitous vitriolic host. And I got to say that as a disclaimer, for those people who've watched over the last year, let's just do a little history lesson. It was February 23rd of 2019, and I was invited to come out and meet the Davids at Tulsa County Convention at the Pavilion. Now, they were asking me to come out. Actually, it was Lori Gracie that asked me to come out and really be a delegate or, you know, to vote and become part of that. But I arrived with my own vision, and the vision of it was with 3D Politics. I came to the meeting on February 23rd with the whole idea of recruiting the 3 Ds, and that is David Van, David Oldham, and David D'Ambroso, because I knew that I have IQ immunity, and these guys actually have an IQ, and so I wanted to build a show called 3D Politics where I would interview and draw out these inspirational thoughts from these 3 Davids in Oklahoma. And over the last year, we've gotten quite popular and moved down the road to the point where we actually need a disclaimer. So if I say something, you can always love or hate me at Tom E. McKay on Twitter. Find me on Twitter at Tom E. McKay, and like all smart McKays, we spell it M-C-C-A-Y. So anything I say, just to protect these guys from the vitriol, when I say something, it does not necessarily reflect what any of these 3 other guys say, even if he's not here. So, in the future, if you want to reach me about what I've said, Tom E. McKay, at Tom E. McKay on Twitter. And since then, we have moved. It's amazing that we need to fill people in about what we do and why we've done it, because we've done more than a year's worth of shows. We've got couple of hundred episodes up there.
Well, we've got 300 YouTube videos.
300
Over 300
YouTube videos on the idea I created, my idea, my concept. And these two guys have been working for a year to build the audio and the studio and the camera and the
And
layout.
we still suck.
No, wait a minute. We have come a long way.
It's been amazing what we've been through just tonight. Just dealing with some of the technical things that we had all worked out, and they threw us another one.
We've got wires all over this place, computers, we got special cameras, and you know what? We're back to using my spare cell phone right now.
We've worked through getting Rex Lawhorn in here, my first interview, which was, we want to have, if Dan Broso can't make it, we're going to bring somebody else in to sit at the table with us. And I just know that if, regardless of what the YouTube says or what Facebook says, this is not a show for kids. This is not anything having to do with kids. We're going to talk about adult subjects and the way it deals with adult things. So if it says PG-13, ignore it. Get the kids out of the show, and we're going to talk about it. So one of my favorite, let's get on, again, Tom McKay, 3D Politics, right here. These guys making it happen, making my idea come to life. And lawmakers prop up OEA despite radicalism is the headline from OCPA, the Patriots. Brandon Dutcher over there is very quickly becoming one of my favorites. He awesome. Deals them out, and with no vitriol. He just lays out the facts. And this is from February 28th, OCPA, Brandon Dutcher. Under Oklahoma law, he's talking about several years now, Oklahoma Republican lawmakers have done the bidding of National Education Association and its state affiliate OEA by refusing to enact common sense pro-teacher union reform bill. Now, the OEA is one of my nemesis on Twitter. They have the Fight for Funding, which is a total fraud site, suggesting just the other day that I responded to that food is a school supply. Well, this is just basic logic of basic word meaning, semantics, and basic definition of words. Once again, food is a provision of a kitchen. Doesn't have anything to do with education directly. So that's one of the big problems with the OEA, is that they are promoted and funded by the NEA, and they are definitely a fraudulent organization pushing stuff over Fight for Funding on Twitter. Under Oklahoma law, back to the OCPA Patriots, according to Brandon Dutcher's article, under Oklahoma law, you do not have to join a teachers union, but if you're a teacher, but you do join one of your, if you do, one of your choices limited to whatever entity has been certified by your school. The certification vote was often taken, decades ago. The point here is that in Oklahoma, as a teacher, you're not required by law to join a union. But
thank God.
I have family members in the education industry. My grandmother taught Tulsa Public Schools over 40 years. My mother taught Tulsa Public Schools over 20 years. My daughter teaches in the public schools today. And when they did the strike, the teacher strike, and
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and that was not a walkout. Again, they try to use words that don't mean what they mean. It was a strike. They called it a walkout.
Well, it was a wildcat strike.
It was totally a wildcat strike. People that I know and love were essentially peer pressured into going to the Capitol to faux pretend that they supported the protest, because otherwise they would face retaliation.
Well, they did support the protest ultimately, did they not?
No, they didn't. The ones that I know had to go basically to save face and job. They were forced through peer pressure. Now, it says here, also, they explain that if a transgender reading, they get into the transgender reading, but what I'm saying is they support the teachers go to the union meetings out of an obligation to get their paycheck. And many of the people, the teachers that went to the Capitol 2 years ago, went not on the front lines, but because they were trying to
Now,
save.
see, I completely disagree with that mindset. I not only was a scab during when I worked for the telephone company and the union decided we weren't getting paid well enough and needed to go out on strike, and I did not participate. I not only didn't participate, I counter protested. So and you know what? It never harmed my paycheck for a second. And I did not have.
But
I did not have.
what
do they call it? Where you keep your job forever? What do they call that?
Tenure.
I did not have tenure.
But
So-
did your tires get slashed? That's what I,
No, nor did my paint get keyed.
yeah, okay.
But
Good.
my point is that, and especially now schools have so many cameras, you're not going to have to worry about that too much. But the point is that I think that it's a real crock, and no offense to your family or friends,
this is what we're
but
here
the
for.
thing is that it's a crock that it's the same excuse of the Nazis. Well, I just had to go along. I just
true.
couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
And by not doing anything about it, they become a part of the problem, and it's time that ended. Grow a pair.
Yeah.
Each person. Go
push
ahead.
back.
Van.
Well, the specifics on here, I think the bill had to do with the people's ability to retain their vote in secret, right?
That's correct.
And
Oh,
so,
is that what we're?
yeah,
is that the
no.
bill we're talking
Let's
about?
just go a little history back
Why
to
send us off in a direction?
right,
Right.
but
Let's talk about the bill. Give a rundown of the bill.
But no, what I want to say here, give us a little history. 20 years ago, almost to the day, Mary Fallon was lieutenant governor, and she did one of the bravest things. Of all of Mary Fallon's history, I'm going to always brag on her for this. The Democrats controlled the Senate. But nonetheless, Governor Keating, Republican governor, had the votes that if it came to a floor vote to move this resolution, so you put it on the ballot. Are we going to be what's called a right-to-work state?
Right.
Okay? The leadership, the Democrats, wouldn't let that go to a vote of the people. So Mary Fallon walks in, as is her authority, in the Senate. She grabs the gavel anytime she wants to. She calls up the bill. Jim Williamson, a whole bunch of others were all set to go. They called it up for a vote, and they got the votes on the floor, even though the Senate Democrat leadership didn't want it.
Right.
That was supposed to end this mandatory thing where the union could have you fired if you didn't pay them. It's called extortion
Right.
when the mob
Right.
does it.
Right.
So, but what they've been using is these heavy-handed things like, no, you got to vote in front of everybody. Everybody gets to see your vote,
Right.
and all these things. And so this bill, who was that from? Nathan Dahm?
From Nathan.
Nathan Dahm says, you know what? You're working for a government entity. The government's going to protect your right to privacy and how you vote about your own contract.
Correct.
Okay? And so that's kind of the setup here, I want to say.
Yeah, to the dues, there's $466 in dues paid by Oklahoma teachers to the OEA. This is circa 2017. 18, $189 out of that 466 went to Washington D.C.
Yeah.
To the NEA, and that money helps directly and indirectly fund NEA programs and events like the Transgender Reading Day. Now, the Transgender Reading Day, look it up if you haven't seen it. It's where the transgenders come and dance sexually in front of children. The way that they push this is because the union promotes it, and if you want out of it, I kind of butchered this thing from the OCPA. The certification vote in the schools happens every 4 years. If you want to decertify the union, if you are a teacher, who does not want to be a member of the union or that union, or you don't get a union to pick from that you like. You have to decertify the union that was already voted on
Correct.
your school decades ago.
Correct.
This is the process is onerous and most significantly requires the teachers to publicly identify as a union critic and open themselves up to retaliation. This is the thing that my loved ones were involved in, where they could not say, I'm against it. Now, some people are not as strong or in a position to retaliate against these things against us, and so some people saved more Jews in Hitler's time than others.
So my dad worked for a city government in Minnesota growing up, and because of a number of things they're doing, my dad actually helped organize a union to come in.
Okay.
On the day when the union mediation arbitration, I think, was part of this, they came in to set up the vote because they monitored it. That was a private vote. That was a secret ballot. So what I'm saying is the vote to go in and unionize gets to be private, but the vote to get out or to change directions or to change your funding, now all of a sudden you've lost your privacy that you used to have before you were union. You had more rights as an individual before you were union.
That's
Well,
correct.
and that's
Standard
true.
procedure.
That's going to be true because the union can come in and put in their own rules, and they put in onerous rules that run counter to your rights. But you've signed on to that by being a teacher and signing on to the union.
Yes.
That's a good point. Because ultimately this is up to a union, and the OEA could respect that privacy. They choose not to. That ought to tell you something about the nature of the union.
Right. And what is it I've said before? The group picks you, not the other way around. You don't get to pick your group. The union picks you.
Yeah.
And the minute you take your individual sovereignty and blend it into the group, you just lost your sovereignty to the group. It is group rights above individual rights.
So we were at the Capitol. We'll get into it later. But what I saw is they're still falling in love with that apple, and they still fear in the legislature. They fear that teacher caucus.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
there's that teacher caucus controls too much of the electorate.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I
The
mean,
teachers are controlled by the unions.
Yeah. Now, having said
the
that,
teachers don't control anything.
well, they're
they're
mostly controlled by the administrators union.
yeah.
Teachers
Now,
have control of their classroom, and that's about it.
Now,
and barely that.
okay, this I have a problem with. Having said that, there are some people that came there because they had teacher support that are doing a fairly decent job. Some of them scoring high in my index, Freedom Index and stuff like that. But I have a problem with just this one thing. I think this was a big defection of the teacher caucus over to the liberal side, the leftist side. That's not saying that, I have a problem with every one of their votes, but I definitely, have a problem with this.
So I want to finish this off with this last thing. I have I haven't really given great duty to this OCPA piece from Brandon Dutcher, but the point that he makes, because I've kind of butchered the concepts here, but the biggest point that he makes, and this should hit you when you vote. You should understand when you vote, you're creating a situation at the school. This is from the article, if Transgender Reading Day occurs at your child's school, don't just blame the OEA, NEA, the teachers' unions, like I've said. Ask the Oklahoma Republicans, who controls the state legislature, when they continue to preserve the union's grip on local schools.
Yeah.
Come on, Republicans. Yeah. Let's fix this thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're watching 3D Politics. Tom McKay, your vitriolic host, with 2 out of the 3 Davids right here on 3D. You're watching 3D Politics. Tom McKay, your vitriolic host, with 2 out of the 3 Davids right here on 3D Politics. Let's move on to the exciting Capitol Chronicles. All 3 Davids traveled to the Capitol all in one car together.
Yeah, we did.
It was
Did you guys
awesome.
get married afterwards? Or?
That's awesome. He drove. I paid for gas, but he drove. That was the deal. You would take your
Damn,
car
Russell
out
was
by
the
the gas.
entertainment then.
Oh yeah. But we had a great time. I don't. Do you want to talk about?
Go ahead and start. You're the one with the big day. You're the one
we
that
all had
really-
a big day.
Tell the audience what you guys did first. You went down there. What'd you go down there for?
We did. I had to give out 52 awards to the top 52 lawmakers, and that was the number one priority on my thing. I wanted to catch certain committees, because there was a lot of committee votes that day, and then there was floor vote. I know you ran into a lot of people that you were hoping to see there. And we all did. And then we ended up having dinner with one of the lawmakers where we got inside, tipped off to some things. I think Oldham's going to bring that up. But let me tell you the first thing I did. Sooner Politics last year started with help of a lot of friends, including Oldham here. We started a Freedom Index, and it's all about restoring and protecting individual liberties of all Oklahomans.
By calculating the performance of these different politicians according to the index.
Yes.
Correct.
And so what I did, out of 149 of them, I took the top 52 and I called that the honor roll. Okay.
Right.
And then I said, let's make a deck of cards. So we commissioned the Sooner Politics Commemorative 2019 Freedom Index and limited edition cards. And it was great. I mean, doing this right. These were not cheap cards, but we commissioned, a certain number of them. Yeah, and so I decided to take one of them and cannibalize it. And I was going to go to the Capitol and give every lawmaker their card, and just say, hey, this is to say thank you. And it turned into the funniest thing. It was the talk of the place.
It was.
Yes, because I would give, let's say I'd give, here, Avery Fricks got the 10 of diamonds. And he said, well, what'd the speaker get? And I said, well, he's the 8 of spades. Oh, I beat the speaker. Yeah, so I got to go talk to the speaker now and let him know that I beat him. But then I would say, but stay away from Lewis Moore. He's the ace of hearts, and don't you forget it. And I mean, some of these guys, I think Lewis Moore, I think he put his ace here right in his lapel pocket there where everybody could see it, And so I show up over the Senate then, and there's James Leroy, who I think is like king of diamonds. That's high. I mean, that's really good.
That's good.
And I'm giving him his and getting a picture, and who photobombs a picture but Nathan Dom.
Nice.
And he's like, I'm the ace of spades, don't you forget it. So I had to have a picture of those two. So if you'll go to Sooner Politics Facebook page, and you'll see all of the honor roll. I posted every one of their pictures.
Nice.
It was huge. And I mean, I went over to Eccles' office, and they said, you got any of those decks? Yeah. Well, we'll take 5 of them,
Nice.
And, in Newhouse, well, yeah, I'll take whatever you got left, I mean, they went fast.
We might have to make another order.
How
we haven't even seen the governor yet for your cards.
That's funny. Because I said, okay, the 2 wild cards, I'd like to have be the governor and lieutenant governor, right? And, they sent me they didn't say wild card. When I got them, they came here and says, Joker, Matt Pinnell. See that? Hi, Matt.
As a comedian, I really can appreciate jokes.
So, anyway.
But they're important cards in a deck.
Yeah.
I tell you, you have to have them.
Come on.
And you got to have a wild card to spin things around.
And quite frankly, we need the wild cards this week.
Yes,
we need the governor. We're going to talk about that in just a bit. But come Thursday or before Thursday, we need the governor's help, and so it's vital to have be able to play our wild card.
Well, and just like I said with Mary Fallon 20 years ago, she did play the wild card.
That's it.
And it is. They have special powers.
And remember when David Tackett and Gary Richardson got all sorts of flack for bringing it up and saying, hey, the lieutenant governor needs to do this. Why hasn't Todd Lamb done anything like this?
Right.
And during the campaign, they got all sorts of flack. And here we're hearing yet again about how it has been done that way.
Right.
And it can be done, and probably should be done a whole lot more.
These cards are a great hit with the legislature themselves.
Yeah.
And so how does our viewing audience...
You know what?
Just tell them to send the money, Dave. Don't try to fix anything. Tell them where to send the money.
No,
we'll ship later.
I appreciate the sponsor. If you want to pre-order the 2020, we're going to have those out here right at the end of the session.
Tell them where to send the money, Dave.
Yeah. Go to SoonerPolitics.org. You can email me, David, at SoonerPolitics. We'll set it all up for you. Make sure to reserve your commemorative card. And while you're at it, go to FantasyLawmakers.com. We're doing beta tests of a fantasy league.
Oh, yeah. Tell them about that. I love that idea.
Yeah,
it's
we're doing
fantasy league where you pick a fantasy caucus. Yes.
Yep. You've got 500K. And by the way, that is your special coupon code, 500K. You get to pick 8 lawmakers, not 7, not 9. You can't pick Nathan Dahm 8 times. That doesn't work. But
you don't have enough money.
Yeah, well, that too. But
Fantasy
just
football.
you
is
pick,
people
yeah, you
want-
try to pick the optimal within your budget, the
Right.
optimal caucus, the optimal 8 players that you're the coach of. And you're going to get these guys and gals to vote as liberty as they can, as
Right.
freedom as they can. And so that's going on. These are things we're doing all to advance liberty.
And just like fantasy football players call and tweet about
Yes.
their players in real life. They tweet about,
Oh, yeah.
foibles and problems. Hey, deal with it. Do a little more practice this week, guy.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. The hope is that you will reach out and work with your caucus, your fantasy caucus, and make sure that they are
Yeah.
likewise doing the same
That is
thing.
a fantastic point, because the football players on the fantasy football leagues literally interact with their fans.
Oh, yes.
Their fans are like, "Hey, man, you're
Yeah.
killing my fantasy here." you
Well,
know?
yeah, and that's the thing.
And that's almost as big a deal as their actual NFL
Yeah,
time or basketball
Yeah.
time or whatever
Right.
kind of a league you've got.
Yeah.
These
and-
guys are performers. They're not
Right.
just making money. They are performers.
Right.
They like the fans.
Yeah, and the thing now, look, there's been a lot of great indexes. The Reed Index talks about our business-friendly policies at the legislature. The Conservative Index has always been, that's the Oklahoma Constitution newspaper puts that out.
Right.
The pro-life folks have an index. OK2A has an index. Parental rights, and they
I
have
think they're
their
working
index.
on one, right?
Oh, yeah, and they do a great one already. But here's the cool thing, and you and I ran into Don Spencer.
Right.
And I mentioned to him about a wonderful thing happening. You've got all these grassroots special causes focusing on this liberty, whether it's Second Amendment or vaccine choice or parental
Right.
rights generally. And now they're all beginning to work together. It's the
Yes.
most wonderful thing.
And wherever you happen to be in the nation, because we are going nationwide.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going worldwide.
He
but-
is especially.
But we are
I'm
going
going all
nationwide. And
Yeah.
the point is that this is what we have to do. I mean, we have to
Yeah.
turn these sanctuary counties into not just sanctuaries for Second Amendment, but other
Liberties.
rights
Yeah.
that we need protected. And we
Yeah.
gotta start talking to these people. They've already sworn, frankly, to uphold these
right.
rights. They haven't been. They're now taking special
Some are.
resolutions to do what they should have already
Mm-hmm.
done. But nonetheless, we have this job of education that we have to do. I was in a meeting, just to go off of kind of this train of
Hey,
thought.
before you move on, let's close out this section.
Okay.
Let's close out this segment and explain the two things we were just talking about. There's the Freedom Index,
Right.
and the cards.
Right.
What are the cards called?
Well, they are just our commemorative.
It's a
yeah,
commemorative-
Instead of terrorists, we're doing the good guys.
Yeah, and they're not tarot cards. Yeah, they're poker cards.
But we have the congressional playing cards that are
Right.
tied to the
Yeah,
Freedom
legislative.
Index.
The legislative.
Legislative, and then also the fantasy caucus.
FantasyLawmakers.com.
So there's your two chances to get involved in
Yeah.
a fun way to formatting the future, and that is the cards to connect to your legislator and the fantasy caucus. And now,
just say you bought a couple of decks right
Yes, I
away
did.
when the first ones
Yes, I
came
did.
in, and why?
Well, I wanted to show other states how to do it. So
Yeah.
I carry them with me if I can ever remember.
Right.
But I carry a deck with me so that I can give out a couple cards to some of the leaders because if they do the same kind of thing in their state.
But what you told me is the first thing you wanted was you want to memorize these faces.
Well, that's the
Right.
that's the idea of the cards.
Right.
And I mean that's why they did them for the terrorists. That's why we do them here. You
Yeah.
get to know
Yeah, you get to know-
your legislators are. And frankly,
Especially-
there's 150 of them, and if you're not down there every day, you don't get to know them.
Yeah, especially the ones that you have a chance of actually
Well, it's amazing. I'm in offices with legislators, and I'm mentioning fellow legislators to them they don't have a clue as to who I'm talking
Right.
about.
This is
They
a-
don't even know. They need a deck for themselves.
That's an excellent point.
Oh.
You're literally fighting against one of the biggest complaints that people have against government. It says faceless.
Yeah.
We don't have any idea who these people are. Well, this is a great way to put a face with a name and know exactly what bill they're tied to.
And there are plenty of other ways to do it. I mean, you do have online. You have oklegislature.org. You have their printed material. When you walk in, you can get a printed piece of material
Nice
with the
little album.
faces of all of the representatives and senators. So as you're walking through the Capitol, you can find who you need to find.
This is a lot more fun, though.
But this is a lot more fun, yes, and you can play cards with it.
There you go.
You play solitaire if nothing else. But so yeah, I mean.
Did I kill your movement here?
No, because we started
we're
a new.
gonna move into your topic next, right?
Well, that's fine. Sure.
Okay, 3D politics still. Right here with Tom McKay, your fantastic host. David Van, David Oldham. David Van with SoonerPolitics.org. David Van with ConstitutionalGrounds.com. And me.
David Oldham with it.
Okay, 3D politics still. Right here with Tom McKay, your fantastic host. David Van, David Oldham. David Van with SoonerPolitics.org. David Van with ConstitutionalGrounds.com. And me.
David Oldham with it.
What did I say?
Fan.
Oh,
Right.
sorry.
That's okay.
That's way easier.
Yeah.
David
I wasn't
Oldham.
even paying attention.
I was so worried about telling you where I was at. I got confused who I was talking about. David Oldham, ConstitutionalGrounds.com. Now we got more to talk about: alien criminal forfeiture, state question to end all, Super Tuesday, and health department rules are all coming up. But first, David Oldham.
Well,
what do you got?
more from the Capitol.
Okay.
I mean, while David's off having conversations with 50 different legislators, and finding all sorts of conversations, because we hung out.
Oh yeah,
during
you
part of
helped a
that,
lot with
and
it. Yeah.
and it was also grabbing legislators. Hey, so and so, David's over here. They're looking for somebody. They come up thinking I'm the one that has called them out, and so I'm pointing them over. But we're having conversations and things like that. I did my own thing as well,
Yeah.
and so David D'Ambroso did his own thing, and we collaborated at times. We went back doing our own things. It was quite amazing. I did want to share, because of we were talking about needing to educate our legislators. I had a very interesting conversation with my legislator, Melody Blancett,
Oh yes.
I'm familiar.
House District 78, and went in and talked with her, and I was talking to her about the problem of tyranny in government, having dictatorial government, that's a problem. And at one part of the conversation, she wasn't understanding what I was talking about.
Too
And
close to home.
well, actually, it came out as to why she was having so much trouble understanding. Because I said, where do you get your authority to be dictatorial? And she says, well, it's government.
Oh.
And so literally she thinks that is the point of government. It is not about representing us and securing our rights. It is doing what is necessary for the greater good for the most people, and being dictatorial if that's what she feels is necessary.
Yeah.
So, like the petulant parent, it's the
That's
best
good.
thing
I
that I
like
can
it.
think. You
I
get
like it.
frustrated, you quit doing good parenting. Not that they have any authority to parent us, but they then just issue a dictate. And for her, it was all about policy. If it's good policy as she sees fit, then they have the right to dictate to the rest
Yeah,
of it.
once again, going up there to do what she thinks is the right thing instead of representing the people who put her there.
Well, and remembering that she can't violate anybody's rights. So if they're going to have a policy that works, she can't violate anybody's rights. And she could not wrap her mind around that concept.
Right.
Could not wrap her mind around that concept, because that's not where she's at.
Right.
And frankly, that's not where most, and it does not matter the party, that is not where legislators generally are. Now, there are a few, and we had dinner with one, and we had a lot of good conversations with many, and we have more on the, and that's why they're on this in the deck because they get it a little more than others.
Yeah.
But even some in the deck have trouble sometimes
God,
wrapping their heads around it.
Yeah, some of them are on a collision course with the basement already this year.
And that comes down to because we are not doing our job of making this the narrative and making this the topic that they have to address everywhere they go.
Yeah.
And as we pick up that and force them to talk about it, they will not be able to escape. Right now, they think that they can escape from me because nobody else is going to bring it up. And enough people are going to clap when they give their little roundabout and stuff like that. But as other people pick up the message, now they can't escape. And we saw that at the marijuana town hall we did.
Right.
Because other people asked the same question in different ways.
Sure.
And they had to try to figure out ways to wheedle around those, and it was a lot harder than dealing with me up front. So consider that, folks, please. It was one of the many things that we did, but we had lots of conversations. We had Democrats pulling us aside, showing us.
And actually, that will be the next thing we'll get into as a Democrat. I wanted you to talk about what got discussed at dinner time.
Right. Well, but I mean, just from our conversations, we had various legislators pulling us aside to show us things that they were working on. They wanted to have us help defeat, things they want to have us help work on. I was there for the least sexy thing you can do in the legislature, and that is work on a rules bill that is vital for how agencies deal with and try to foist themselves on us and keep the legislature out of it when it's the legislature's job to be doing the legislating and the agencies want to just dictate from their agency. And so I was working on that bill and some others, but absolutely behind the scenes, no sexiness. It's not a gun bill or getting whole rights back, wholesale kind of a thing. Nothing nice like that, but it has to be done.
Hat tip to the founding fathers to create a country and a system where these two guys can drive all the way to the Capitol and actually talk to the people that make the rules. What a fantastic system we have here.
Yeah,
and we're nobody special.
Except for me.
That is a separate,
that's a whole other issue.
Well, it is a tribute to the power of citizen journalism.
Yes,
and because we get together. It's guys' night out for us. Every Monday night, we get together, we do the show, we talk to you, we ask you to, give us feedback. I'm seeing all kinds of comments there, and thank you. And so, listen, because we talk to you, you guys talk to us. When we go to the Capitol, I mean, how many of those lawmakers would see us out in the hall and say,
they're watching the show, folks.
And they'd say, come on in, sit down. And they would ask us, what do you think of this bill?
Well, and this is
they
why...
don't know.
And this is why your comments on our show are so important, because the legislators are watching the show.
Especially yours, Blake. They're watching you.
we have had I don't know how many in Arkansas are watching us, but anyway, the
closed caption, I'm sure.
The point is that we do have legislators watching us. We have political consultants who have tuned in just tonight. We have people who are watching, and we just need you to help with the narrative, because your voice, when they see these kinds of the comments you have for them, they are reading them, and it does everything to get yourself heard.
A corporate lobbyist for a couple of industries, came up. I told this last week. He said, Dave, I know you guys are having an effect, all you guys, because I see a chairman come in of a committee and he says, look, we're only going to do these bills, and even these, he says, if you have any question, err on the side of liberty. Well, what the heck?
We like that.
We like that.
I think it's hats off to the system more than it is us. I mean, I know we're great, and I know we've got, we're on the mark here in Oklahoma, and we're on the cutting edge of ideas, and yet in other countries, you simply cannot broadcast your freedom of thought like this and then go access your legislator and then shove ideas in front of them. It doesn't work like that in other countries.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we've
and
got
we're
to
so
appreciate
far-
our system here.
Well, yes, and we're still so far from where we're supposed to be, because I mean, constitutional governance on so many issues, we're nowhere close to constitutional governance.
Yeah, but
But-
we did such a
but-
good job, Dan.
No, but the point is that where there is a vote, where there is, and we were taught, we dealt with a bunch of issues that were legitimate, votable issues.
Sure.
That day. And so, and those kinds of things, it's like, that's where we get to go and share our voice. We actually got to share, I was sharing with people all the time, you can't go where you're going kind of things. And yes, here you can do that. Saudi Arabia, it's
Amazing.
a little iffy.
Yeah.
China right now, I mean, you'd probably be thrown in a concentration camp if you're talking about the virus and all
during
that.
the
over
mayor's
there.
race in 2016, I competed against 2 millionaires
Yeah.
and 2 perennial losers.
Yeah.
What other system can you do that?
Yeah. Tom, I'm going to say something. I know, yes, I'm kissing up to you lawmakers. I'm going to defend you here. The lawmakers actually want to please everybody. They really, really hope in their gut that they can. They know they can't, but yet they still want to. They do need to, they keep track of phone calls. I mean, like we
Yes,
talked a
that's
few
true,
months
they do.
ago
That's true.
about one Democrat who called, he wanted to exchange his vote for my issue if I would support his issue, which there's no way I was going to, but, he tried.
There was a
And
discussion
so
going on.
I got off the phone and I made some contacts. Said, who can we call that's from this lawmaker's district?
Right.
And the next day we showed up at the Capitol. You were with
Right.
me, and and he said, "Funny thing, Dave. After I got off phone with you, I got 4 phone calls from my constituents. Now." I'm a Democrat. They were all Republican, but they were still my constituents,
That's
and
the way
I
it works.
figured if it was important to them, then that's how I'm going to vote. So,
And mind you,
know if they don't-
on that vote, which spared us from having our presidential preferential primary move to where it was
Discarded.
worthless,
yeah,
and kept it at Super Tuesday. It came down to that one Democrat flipping sides
Yes.
because of 4 telephone calls.
4 phone calls.
It literally means that just getting up off your duff and making the phone call is sometimes vital.
Yeah.
And it comes down to those few votes. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, how many races have we had? We keep talking about it. The legislator we had dinner with, he won his district by 45 votes.
Yeah.
There was another one that won by 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Tom, what I want to say, let's just follow up. That bill had already passed the Senate overwhelmingly. Okay.
Got snuck in. We had to find it
Right.
late.
Right. And if it passed the House, Fallon already was going to support it.
Oh, yes.
Folks, you would not get to vote tomorrow if that thing had passed and it came down to that one Democrat and, more importantly, the 4 constituents who made a phone call.
Right.
Didn't go visit, just made a phone call. Okay.
Right.
So, yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
my
very
point.
important. We got a great system. You have access to the
Yeah.
system. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
We just
thing.
have to use it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when Charles McCall sees me and he comes up to strike up a conversation.
Likewise.
I know. Yeah, you were there. That's right.
Yeah.
And you just, so they
At
aren't-
least he gave us lip service.
well, they aren't
Come
boogeymen.
on.
They actually do want to please us, okay?
They're trying
Yeah.
hard. It takes a lot of guts to get up there and run.
I hear a few amens coming from lawmakers. Yes, I can hear it.
We're going to get into alien criminal forfeiture coming up right now. I want to introduce you once again, 3D Politics, every Monday night, 7 p.m. We started a little late tonight. So
Yes, I can hear it.
we're going to get into alien criminal forfeiture coming up right now. I want to introduce you once again, 3D Politics, every Monday night, 7 p.m. We started a little late tonight, so we'll go a little long tonight.
Yeah.
David Van,
Yeah.
David Oldham, right here. Let's talk about alien criminal forfeiture. What does it mean?
Set it up.
Yeah,
Let's tell what
well,
we're doing.
there was a very interesting bill introduced by Sean Roberts, and this bill was designed to have the state participate in the federal constitutional position of immigration. So when the federal government lawfully makes a law about immigration, because that is
That's their position.
prerogative.
That's their, area.
Article 1, Section 9, for anybody who wants to question it. it's clause 1. It is the federal government's constitutional duty to deal with immigration.
Okay. Sure.
Well, so, but they have not been dealing with it fully, and they need the help of the states because there is not a large enough federal force to deal with all of the immigration.
And we don't want there to be.
No, we do not want a federal force dealing with it. We don't want the Army running in our streets or the National Guard or anything like that. No, we do not want a national police force. Okay, so, but what has been missing has been a state law that would cause the various agencies or grant them permission to deal with immigrants that need to be sent back to Mexico or other countries. And so what his bill does is says that if a person, an illegal alien, is caught as an illegal alien, and this is key, and has been convicted of other crimes.
It says felony.
They're felony crimes.
Yes,
actually,
they are,
or they were other crimes, and I think he was going to make it a felony.
You're right.
It hadn't been. That was version 2.0.
We were eating dinner with this guy, and nobody really, because he had just filed it a few hours earlier.
Correct.
And so he's telling us to us after,
right,
during a meal. And we're talking about things. Maybe we'll do it. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
We're talking about changes that could be made.
Yeah.
But anyway, so basically it's going to be a felony conviction, and then afterward, rather than going back to their country, they have illegally stayed in the United States.
Yeah.
Then they are caught by law enforcement for whatever reason. At that point, they are now, if the bill goes all the way through the Senate, and is signed by the governor, they will then be handed over to ICE for deportation. And that is the nature of the bill. So
there's another component there. What happens to his car?
Oh yeah, there was also that was the other thing, and that was that they would it was the asset forfeiture.
Yes,
they would forfeit the assets that are remaining here in the United States.
Yeah, so Tom, what we'd say is we're putting you on a plane to go back to whatever country. Don't worry about your car. We took it.
We got it.
Yeah,
right.
And the wife, the kids, we got that.
So the idea is that if they have their stuff still here, they go and they turn right around and come right back because they walk right back into what they left. The idea is to take it away, and then they can't just walk back in. They have to start fresh and somehow to get back here.
This is a bill being written by who?
Sean Roberts.
Sean Roberts, and we agree or disagree with this bill?
Well, that
was an interesting conversation.
That's a very interesting conversation. Now, it's a political decision that is rightly political.
Yeah.
And everybody is entitled to their own opinion. I will tell you, it is completely constitutional, which is what my concern is, and I'm not so keen on sharing my personal political views on it.
You don't give your opinion?
Well, what? The reason is because I'm trying to push constitutional bills.
That's
my focus.
Yeah.
But just on the political side, there are political considerations with the foreign countries where we're sending these people. How do they feel about us treating their people the way we do, and so forth? There are things that individuals have. They don't want certain people treated this way, even though they're illegals. This, that, and the other thing, and I encourage you to weigh in on the subject, because this is a properly political bill, and it's going to come down to majority vote, and you need to let your legislator know.
But you're saying that the wording that you read was constitutional by your
Yeah. Now the political thing, and he's right in saying that a lot of this is a political decision, because you have certain things you may have the right to do, but you have to decide what's politically.
Whether is it expedient? Is it pragmatic?
Yeah.
Is it proper? Is it diplomatic.
Yeah. Now, when we watch the replay later on tonight, D'Ambroso's going to go nuts because he accused me of all kinds of things. What I'm bringing up, and I'm going to play devil's advocate like I did sitting at the dinner table there at the Mexican restaurant.
Right.
You know, and yeah, I know some of them didn't speak English too well, but anyway. But I said, I said, Representative Roberts or Sean, I said, I have a problem with the asset forfeiture just as a principle because it's been so abused in an area it shouldn't be.
Correct.
That's the politics. Now you're tainting this initiative with something that already has a bad taste in people's mouth.
Correct.
And should. Okay, so there's that. And then there's the fact that, Sean's bill basically allows them to keep, the law enforcement gets to keep at least part of that proceeds from liquidating that. Right now, the federal government's asset forfeiture laws, the federal, which Ed Meese wrote, and I talked with Ed a few years ago. He was in town. See, I know a few people.
I'm telling you.
And he just condemned it. Ed Meese said this has been bastardized. It was written under the context of a drug kingpin thousands of miles away. We didn't have any access to him, but his money's sitting in Chase
freezing an
Manhattan
account.
Bank. Right. And we've done that all the time. We did it with Iranian stuff, right? But Ed Meese wrote it only in the context of for drug crimes.
Right.
Now we're going to take asset forfeiture, expand it to other kinds of crimes. And that you'll want to look at from a constitutional perspective.
Well, again, remember, constitutionally, an illegal has no constitutional rights. He's not an American. He is, while he is a human, and generally we want to afford them rights. Remember, he is already a convicted felon.
Right.
Whether or not he is on parole is another matter.
Right.
But he is further in the country illegally, so he's committing other crimes.
Yeah.
He's in the process of committing other crimes. So,
yeah.
So we are not talking about somebody who has benefit of being an American citizen.
Yeah.
He actually
they don't have the protection under the law because they're not a citizen.
Well, what I want to say, and
rights,
this has to do with the
manner.
politics side of it, is keep in mind you reap what you sow. How do you want Americans, when they're traveling down to Costa Rica and have to go through, say, Mexico, Honduras?
Remember, we're talking not about a traveler, somebody, just an innocent vacationer.
Yeah.
We're talking about a convicted felon who's been in the country long enough to be a convicted felon,
trespass,
and then continues his trespass in the country.
Yeah, and that's our best understanding of it.
That was the wording the other night. How it may change as it goes through the legislature.
Right. And then the other thing I said, Sean, I wish if you're going to seize assets and then you have them go be liquidated, why don't you have it go to the Build the Wall Fund? And he said, "Oh, I like that."
Write that down.
He says, "Yeah, it would have been good."
Well, and this is the thing. This is the other thing: is legislation often changes as it has its inception and it moves through the process. And so you may well see the Senate come in and want to change some things to it. But the point is that there are things that could change that would make it so that it's better constitutionally. It's better just as a practical matter.
What would you say is the difference between freezing assets and asset forfeiture?
Well, freezing assets. Well, I mean, virtually nothing in that.
Okay.
One, he's
got to change.
Well, it depends because a freeze of an asset says that the asset still remains the property of whomever, but it's frozen. We're not going to release it.
Pending legal action.
Once it's seized, it's gone. It's given away to somebody else.
Once it's forfeited, it's no longer their property, and that's the difference.
Right. Now, we have complained about what's called civil asset forfeiture.
Right.
And that criminal asset forfeiture, which, I mean, you've got a penny stock pump and dump scheme selling, stocks that are worthless, based on a rumor you started this morning by an email, and that
You're good at this.
Listen, I've got a client that, he lost a $3 million house because he's actually in El Reno in federal prison, and the best they understand is that's how that house was paid for, was by those pump and dump schemes. And listen, the folks down the street from him, it was a gated community, said, we don't feel sorry for that man one bit because we lost a ton of money.
Well, see, those are real crimes.
Yeah.
It's not like drug crimes, which aren't crimes.
Right, but so there's that kind of asset forfeiture. We need to explain. There are types of asset forfeiture that you've got to support, especially if it's used in restitution to the actual victim.
It's about
That makes
restitution, and remember, it has to be after due process of law.
Exactly.
Now, mind you, when you have an illegal who's being shipped back, he has no due process of law any longer with that.
Right.
Or he's already gone through it, but he's flaunted it and he's remained anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so the sending back is just the last thing.
Yeah.
And the forfeiture is just another part of the punishment, part of the
Restitution for your crime is punished. Yeah. So
well, I mean,
So Tom, all we need to know is this: are you a citizen? Because if you're not a citizen, you're here as our guest at best.
you get your human rights, but you don't get your constitutional rights because you're not a citizen.
Yeah, the citizen's rights, the right to remain, your franchise. I am part of America. You don't have that if you're here
You're not in America.
unlawfully.
correct.
And even those who are here lawfully as a guest, right, on a visa, they're still a guest, okay?
Correct.
Yeah. So here's what I got. I said, Sean, I want the exclusive vending of the popcorn rights in the gallery of the legislature when this goes to floor vote. Because if I know the Democrats, they are going to fill that place. Maybe I'll want the tortilla rights to concessions, because I'm telling you, I expect that place to be packed that day.
And clearly, this is a topic that's going to go deeper and
here's,
deeper.
Here's a problem. In Oldham, you got to get ready with an answer for this. Is when, let's say, Dad's illegal, okay?
Right.
But let's say Maria, the sweet young thing he married and had 5 kids with, she is legal, and those kids are legal.
Right.
And now Dad's not only going, but the cars he claims is his property. He's gone. Now the kids don't have the breadwinner, the provider, but now they don't even have the car. Think about it.
Well, and that, quite frankly, that comes down to the family needs to do what is right, and people need to get right with the law, and it's not like you can't. But you need to get right with the law, or you need to take responsibility for your family and move to where you are right with the law. You need to get them right with the law.
Yeah, but this is sticky, and Sean's got to work these things out, because if the car's in the husband and wife's name, in one of them's legal and the other isn't, then you've got that issue.
We're going to have to close this particular segment down, but just and move on. But because this clearly, there's so much weeds to this. We could make a whole episode.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is we can do an hour on this.
Understand there's a coarse, medium, and fine and polished to almost every process. Whether you're making jewelry or shoes, and you're making legislation, we can't. The general welfare is what we start with. So we can't make these case-by-case decisions of this particular family and a guy who has a car till you get to the case-by-case.
Right.
There's no way we're going to make a one-size-fits-all and then not have to work it out case by case.
And just for exactly, but you do have to think about the individual case and make sure you're not violating people's rights. But here we're not talking about violating somebody's rights. We're talking about people committing a crime, and if they get punished for that crime, then we are talking about the suffering, but it's only because of the crime. If there was no crime, we wouldn't be talking about it.
One more comment from Van: alien criminal forfeiture, and we're going to move on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What I do like about the legislature doing this, because you're writing policy based on the broad perspective. When a court does these things and they play legislation from the bench, hard cases make bad precedent, make bad policy. And so the legislature's got to take the lead on this. I commend Representative Sean Roberts for at least bringing this issue up. Let's see where this goes.
Very good.
Okay.
Once again, you're tuned in to 3D Politics every Monday at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook Live. Tom McKay, your amazing host, David Oldham. Very good.
Okay.
Once again, you're tuned in to 3D Politics every Monday at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook Live. Tom McKay, your amazing host, David Oldham. We're going to move on to state question to end all. What's that mean?
Yeah, I'm going to set this up. So Oldham and I were way up on the 5th floor, the low rent district where the Democrats are stuck with their offices. And so we're walking through and, Oldham says, "Oh, that's Rosecrans. I need to talk to him." So I went up, said hi, and he's talking to him, and Andy Fugate was right outside of his office,
listening to our conversation.
Yeah, we said hi, and I went back out to talk to Rosecrans some more because he worked on the medical marijuana, the interim study, the joint commission we call it, Well, anyway, then Fugate calls me back in. He says, "Hey, we got this thing coming up in rules tomorrow that they're going to change the Constitution if this is McCall's bill, but he's a rumor of everybody's. This is coming from Governor Stitt, and it changes the Constitution to make it much harder for the people to do an initiative petition. Where we go out and get signatures and stuff." And he's like, "What the heck?
What are you doing that for?" Yeah.
Really? Are you for this? And I said to Fugate, I said, "No, I don't support this at all." And this was a beautiful distinction I got to make. And I said, "Look, Andy, a lot of the battles we fight here are not left versus right. And I think it's important that you and I understand that and build our coalitions, because a lot of times it's big versus small. A lot of times it's the little guy fighting the big guy."
Reagan called it up versus down.
Yes. And I told him, I said, this is why I miss Steve Copeland. He was defeated, but he was the Democrat leader in the House. And a year and a half ago, I was up there, interim study, and he was on it. And the office is closed, that whole hall, nobody in it except the minority leader and me. And I said, I'm introducing myself, and I said, "Well, you probably would call me a Tea Party Republican." And, Steve says to me, he says, "Dave," he said, "let me tell you, when this Tea Party first started, there were just as many of us Democrats in the Tea Party."
Yeah, that right.
Because what it was about is these bailouts, the too big to fail, the big corporation got all this guaranteed money, and mom and pop's businesses didn't get anything. And I looked at him, I said, "Steve, you are the first guy in this building I've talked to that gets that." Yeah, so what I told these guys, and there were like 4 or 5 Democrat lawmakers, and I said, "Yeah, count on me. I'm going to be there for you." And I came home, I write an article, it's on Sooner Politics, and I said, "If you like state questions, you'll hate this one." or the state question to end all state questions.
Right.
Because if it passes, and notice they didn't go get signatures to pass it, the governor and the legislature is pushing this through.
Correct.
And so our lawmakers need to hear from the little guy, not the lobbyists, not the big corporate, certainly not the agencies.
Correct.
Because that is the, I guess, deep state, if you will call it, the swamp on Lincoln Boulevard.
Right.
It's an initial break wall to the basic concepts of what I was talking about earlier, us being able to reach our legislature.
Yeah, and for your information, because we didn't cover what the bill does, but what the bill does is take the percentage of the voting populace that instead of to get a referendum or a constitutional amendment on the ballot, or a referendum petition, a constitutional amendment, or an initiative petition, it takes, right now it's set that you need a certain percent, and it varies with each one of those types of referendums.
Yeah.
But or petitions, I should say, it requires that you get a certain percent of the last gubernatorial election, the number of votes.
Voters, active voters.
So active voters.
Yeah.
what they are doing with this is they are changing so that it's not the number in the last gubernatorial election that voted, but the entire voting roll, and that it needs to be that percent in each congressional district.
Yeah, it's 8%. So what it's going to do...
Well, it's 8, 15, or 5, depending upon which
true.
one you're looking for.
Right. And so what I'm saying here is now, because maybe half the people on a good year show up and vote.
Yeah.
So now you got to get 8% of the people not only who didn't vote, but who don't even live here or don't even live. Okay? All of them, if they're still on the roll, then you got to get percent. Here's the other thing. Like I'm complaining as a mental health advocate, all the state-funded mental health beds seem to be over on the other end of the state, almost all of them. In fact, I had a meeting with the Commissioner of Mental Health. She said, Dave, it's worse in Tulsa than anywhere. Then I looked at who basically approves how the money gets spent. All of them are from the Oklahoma City area on the state board of mental health. One's from Lawton, but other than that, they're all from the Oklahoma City metro area. So if we did like we do with the Supreme Court, where it says one's got to come from each area, each district, right?
Right.
That's constitutional. If we wanted to put in there this same kind of protection that board has to represent the whole state, like the health board does, the health department board does now. If we wanted to put that in, I'd have to get that petition and circulate it in every congressional district, including the Oklahoma City metro area. I'm asking them to sign to give away their just abusive overrepresentation. They don't want to give that up.
Right.
But see, so what I'm saying is you're most likely to get the petition signatures from the people who've been disenfranchised by the problems with their current situation.
So here's the situation. What you are looking at is you are looking at effectively a much larger number than we have ever had to get before, even though the numbers say the same, because the basis upon which the numbers are judged is a broader pool. You are going to have to collect more signatures, and you can't collect signatures where you can get them. You have to go to all 5 districts, which means that it's going to take money, or it's going to take a lot more organization to be able to get it done. And so and some of these rural districts, that means you're going to have a lot of volunteers. It's not like you can park a few people down on a street corner and get it done.
Right.
So we are talking, it's vital that we, the grassroots, make calls, and this is this is House Joint Resolution 1027.
Yeah. And the last point I want to make for me, I know you may have some more to say, is the argument for this is the governor and the speaker says there's too much out-of-state influence coming in changing things that wasn't coming from us. Okay, that's their pitch, their selling point. But this actually does the opposite of what they're claiming they're trying to do, because now you won't be able to do it without a lot of big funding coming in, because now you got to set up organizations in every congressional district.
The only way to tackle the task is to have a big task force.
Right.
Yeah.
Which means you're going to have to buy, and the ones that are successful out there getting money, getting the votes, getting the signatures, are paying for signatures.
Yeah, no, I'll give you an example.
Even the libertarians paid for signatures.
Right, and I'll give you an example. 807,
traded for them.
807, which is a state question that is to make marijuana just fully legal, end the prohibition, but tax the heck out of it. And
that's not even true. They're not doing anything to make it lawful.
Right, but but it's a California model of what they call
which stocks.
Right, and it's coming from a lot of it's California money.
Correct.
Okay, and they have their own professional signature gatherers, stuff like that. But so you see, in order to get something like this done already, it takes a lot of effort. Yeah. And now they're just going to it's killing individual rights. The populist right of the people to go around the legislature when the legislature doesn't lead in accordance with the will of the people they serve.
Or the Constitution.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah. To kind of finish this off, it seems as though many times in any vote count there are errors, and there are fewer errors in the area that is known as for sure votes that came in, which is what they used to base it on. Now they're throwing open to these state questions to assume the liability of all the errors of the dead votes, the non-votes. So it's absolutely ridiculous. That's it for the state question to end all. We're going to move on to another topic. So we're going to do health department rules. Once again, Tom McKay, your amazing host on 3D Politics every Monday at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live. David Van, David Oldham, here with me tonight. What is this health department rules you want to talk about?
So, he's ready.
Okay.
Thursday, March 5th, it's this Thursday, the state health department is going to be hearing rules changes both for medical marijuana, which will take them all morning, and then vaccinations, harassment of parents who want to opt their children out of vaccinations for schooling.
Should I say about the marijuana and then you talk about vaccines?
Yes, and so what we need is we're going to need, again, phone calls. We're going to tell you where to call, but we're going to need phone calls and some help on this.
And bodies showing up.
And we need bodies to show up. So we're going to start with the morning, and Dave, take it over.
Yeah. Now, this is kind of a mixed bag because I have a lot of confidence in the fellow that's running the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority, Travis Kirkpatrick. And he was inherited kind of a mess from a really bad bunch that was running it before. Some of the proposals really do make sense, and they're going to make it a lot better for those who are in the business of providing the medicine, from growing it to processing it to selling it. Other things, it's kind of up in the air, and there's a few things, I don't really like. But you know what? I'm not going to speak for you. I want you to speak for you. So, I want you to, actually, Ron Durbin, who's going to be, as soon as we get off, he's probably about to start. He's actually the lead lawyer on this for several of the industry groups.
Right.
So he's going to be talking, and that's at the Durbin Law Firm on Facebook, and we're signing off. So you talk about.
Well, and so in the afternoon, they're going to be trying, as Dr. Cool said the other day on Channel 8, he said they're trying to pass rules that make it more onerous to get an exemption than to just go to the doctor. So, in other words, rather than you just being left alone with your decision, they are trying to make it so that you have to jump through a bunch of bureaucratic hoops.
Repeatedly.
And repeatedly, because they're going to limit the amount of time that your exemption is good. You're going to have to go back through it, and you're going to have to watch a propaganda video, which they will have telling you that everything is safe and effective when nothing has actually been so proved.
And then repeat it for each one of your kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it is the process that they are trying to initiate around the country in going around legislatures when legislatures have already turned down these bills. Senator Yen introduced the identical this bill into the legislature and was shot down on the floor of the Senate. So instead, what they're doing is they're trying to use a loophole in the agency rule-making process, where the agencies basically get de facto legislative ability, and as long as the legislature doesn't veto them, then everything goes through as legit. And like the legislature has legislated when they've already turned it down.
And to make that real simple, it's in order for it to become a law under the legislature, all the bodies and the governor have to say yes.
Correct.
Whereas this way, it becomes law without anybody saying yes, and then in order to negate it, all the bodies have to say no. Correct. So again, a split decision now keeps it in place, whereas a split decision the proper way says no, we're not ready for that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is flipped on its head. Everything's backwards. It's unconstitutional because the legislative dictate that you be vaccinated, that you
Right.
all children be vaccinated, is unconstitutional. So any further deprivation of liberty is just compounding problems,
Right.
not making anything better.
Yeah.
So that's what we have. I am going to ask that the people listening to our broadcast tonight and through the week, that you call the governor's office, because the governor, we are told, can get this pulled. So I'm asking that you call the governor's office and ask that he have this vaccine, at least the vaccine rules, pulled from the agenda so that it does not hurt.
However, he has to sign them in order for them to become law.
Does he?
Oh, yes. Yes. And Fallon had to sign the Health Department of Medical Marijuana. Yes.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay, well,
Yes.
if that's the case,
No,
then we
he-
also want him to veto any of the rules making, because I did not even know about that.
And there's a lady named Sarah Stitt, who happens to be the first lady.
That was call number 2. Yes,
Good. Oh.
I'm asking especially all you ladies to call
Mamas.
You mama bears, call Sarah Stitt's office.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't have the number, but we will post it a little bit later.
Remember the disclaimer. Remember the disclaimer. There's a disclaimer. I'm not them.
So anyway, we will post her number for her office as well. But we're asking that you make the phone call to both the governor and the first lady, asking them to make sure that these rules do not go into effect any way that they choose to have it happen. But we would really like to have it yanked, so we all show up on Thursday and we have a big a big letdown that we don't get to all testify.
Okay.
But the other thing is also show up on Thursday. You get if you sign up ahead of time, you can get 2 minutes of testimony time. Be on the record. You can get your testimony, your written testimony. If you get that in, go to the OSDH website, and you can get all of that information.
Get a stress ball too.
I got it.
Unless we run out.
Okay. Be nice, especially when you call the First Lady's office. Laura Dunlap, I know you're listening. You probably will be. Yes, I am taking ownership on this. Laura's the sweetest thing. She's one of my daughter's friends, and she's the chief of staff for the First Lady. So, yes, Laura, it was me. All right. She's just an awesome... Laura, the First Lady does have an awesome staff. So, anyway...
So we're going to finish off about Super Tuesday. It's going to be our last topic. You ready to talk about it?
Yes.
Let's talk.
So, once again, Tom McKay, your fine host here on another Monday night. David Van, SoonerPolitics.org, David Oldham, ConstitutionalGrounds.com, and me, your fine host on Twitter.
Very fine.
Tom E. McKay on Twitter. Now, Super Tuesday is tomorrow. I haven't even reviewed what I'm supposed to vote on, but I already know the way I feel. So when I get there and I read it, I know how to vote. But there's going to be people on the ballot that aren't even running anymore now.
Oh,
yes.
And
yes.
So they've just destroyed.
We had 2 drop out last night.
Right.
So
Today.
Was it today?
Within the
Was it
last
today?
48
Okay.
hours. Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, Pete, I think, was last night, and Klobuchar was today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, the rumor is...
Steyer's out.
Steyer's gone.
Steyer dropped out Saturday night, so that's 3 of them in the last 48
And
hours.
Steyer's the only artificial intelligence that I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
Tom
But-
Steyer.
but-
Did you see him dance?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, so...
Okay, no, I did not see him.
Worse than Elaine.
I'm probably better off.
Yeah, and you're going to see about 4 or 5 names. I looked at them back in early December's when they filed.
Right.
Now, who was it? Harris from the Senator Kamala Harris. She actually got her name pulled off of it. She was the one that filed.
early
and then
enough
dropped out.
before.
I would
Yeah.
have voted for her hair.
Yeah.
She has great hair.
Okay.
Are you sure it's not a weave?
I don't know. It looks good on TV.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's on the Democrat side. There's not a Libertarian primary that I know of, but there is, because they usually do the caucus anyway. Yeah. But anyway, so yes, Trump is on, and there's 3 other guys I know nothing about, except there's a couple of them. They're kind of loony, almost Scientology types, and they're using this. Fact is, I'll tell you, Sooner Politics, when we still had Marianne Williamson, the kind of loony that got on that first debate, I was going to host a debate, and you were going to be the moderator. We were going to get the Scientology guy running as a Republican and Marianne Williamson. And I just want just those two. Just those two.
I was going to ask questions with the tarot cards.
And I want the popcorn concession on that one.
I thought you were going to shake the magic 8 ball.
Magic 8 ball.
So,
Ask later.
but yeah, so you know, it's gotten out.
Try again later.
In Tulsa, some of our other counties as well, we're actually having a vote on do we want to keep the blue law about liquor? You know,
can liquor stores be open on Sunday?
Well,
why would you want to buy
well,
liquor on
actually-
Sunday if you're still hungover on Sunday?
And again, this is a vote that is a matter of right. We have the right to purchase alcohol anytime we want it. I have a stash, guys. So if you need it, you can come over and buy some of mine on Sunday, I'm happy to sell it to you on Sunday.
If you have drunken properly on Saturday, how in the world could you need to buy more on Sunday?
Oh, it's a little hair of the dog, don't you know?
Okay,
You know, that
all
kind of
right,
thing.
okay.
or you can just find
That's the typical
your
argument.
lots
I'm
of
not what that
experience.
means.
But that's one of the things that's going to be up.
But there's always the football game. You know, you forgot to go or you drank too much the
That's
night
true.
before.
That's
and it's like,
true.
hey, I need something now.
Yeah.
I mean, now you can go to Quick Trip and buy it, but
Yeah.
you can't go and get something else. You know,
Or
you
you're
can't
just-
go and get a spirit that you want to mix with some Coke.
You're just going into a Quick Trip and there's a minor like, hey, dude, could you buy me some liquor? Like, not
Yeah.
today, man. It's Sunday.
No, and that's because when we passed it, we put in what we call the county option. You know, if you're dry county, you can remain dry county, and they had that. Now, I will say, as somebody that I think I've had my last sip of beer when I was still in college, and actually before Bible college, it was when I was in the heathen college.
Passed on the hemlock the soccer team.
Yeah,
and went for the
you know, but am I going to vote to take away your right to choose? No, that's your choice, and this is the way I feel it should be.
I mean, I haven't read the bill. I'm assuming it's just do we do it on Sunday or not?
Right.
But
Yeah.
at which point we have, if you're going to be at all constitutional, you have to vote to open it up for Sunday sales.
That's all right.
It's quite frankly the wrong tack to take, and we're seeing all too many rights put up for a vote, and because they're put up for a vote, people vote them down and then feel they have some sort of legitimacy to denying rights, and we've got to end that. But tonight is not the night. Tomorrow is not the day. Let's get this thing opened up so we can we can buy and sell what is our right any day of the week.
Yeah, my
and we go from there.
conviction, this is my personal conviction as a Christian, I should stay away from alcohol. But tonight we're going out for a burger and you guys are going to grab your beer and that's your choice.
I believe in drinking beer in church.
Yeah.
Or something stronger. I mean, it's you know, it both go on and you can have your individual conscience. That's fine. Don't put your conscience on others.
Right.
Because that's, and by force, because that is a crime, frankly.
When John Ashcroft, a very devout Pentecostal man, his parents were very high up in a Pentecostal denomination.
Oh, I didn't
from
know that.
Springfield, Missouri. When he was being approved by the Senate, it was Democrats had to approve him for, to be the Attorney General.
Right.
Somebody accused him because of his very devout evangelical faith that he was going to somehow oppress people who were not of his convictions. And he said it this way: Senator, it is against my religion to impose my religion on anyone. I loved it.
Nice.
I loved it.
That is nice.
Take that with you tonight.
That's a good way to end.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I have really valued from this experience of 3D politics, and one of the main learnings has been David Oldham's explanation of prohibition versus regulation.
Yeah.
And I think that has been one of the most valuable learnings of this
It
whole
is.
experience
Oh,
of the last
very
year.
good. Very good.
I've incorporated it into all of my arguments, and I think this
I
whole-
didn't dream it up, folks. I didn't
Oh, yeah,
come up
you
with it
made
on
it.
my own.
You didn't write that. You just made it up. And so you point out in this thing about the liquor laws. So here's a guy running his business and he wants to be open on Sunday, and he's being prohibited, not regulated. He's
Right.
literally being prohibited.
Exactly.
So it's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything else on Super Tuesday? You going to vote for Klobuchar? No. Pete Buttigieg? No.
I can't.
Tom Steyer? I would vote for Tom Steyer.
Can't. You know, I mean, they don't allow me to
I was
vote
going
in
to
their
vote
primary.
for Tom Steyer till this thing.
I thought you were waiting for yays.
No, it's Wang's for Yang. That's what it was.
Oh, how can there be a balance ticket if you've got a yang but no yin? So, once again, 3D Politics every Monday night right here live on Facebook. Tom McKay, your host, 3D Politics with David Vann, David Oldham, and we'll see you again next Monday.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.